Hello and welcome to the North Bank podcast, where as ever I'm joined by Stef and Chris. Hi guys.
Hello.
Good evening.
On a very stormy Thursday evening, or certainly where I am, in just outside London a little bit. How's it in Norfolk? Is it wet?
Wet, flooded, lots of standing water on those, dodgy back roads. Yeah,
There's no hills, so it's got nowhere to. It doesn't roll off.
Standing water, just there.
We had the classic thing of trees on the line at Camden. Look, it immediately shut the line down, the tube down.
It's an age-old excuse for delayed trains or not running them or anything. Well, let's get off. Let's get off the trains. Let's get back to the football. So, an honourable mention at the start, I think, for Arsenal women who just finished their game against Häcken. They were 1-0 down from the first leg, and they turned it around spectacularly. 4-0 winners through to the group stages of the Champions League. Brilliant. Excellent, well done to them. Apparently there's a couple of cracking goals in that. I've not had a chance to see them yet, but a couple of stonking volleys, so I'll catch up with those later, I'm sure. Keeping the good news going, or the good vibes going, last night at the Emirates, Arsenal youth team hammered Bolton 5-1. Did you guys see it?
Yeah, I watched it, yeah.
Did you see that photograph that Arsenal.com put out today that Nwaneri took a selfie of all the Hale Enders? That's fantastic. And then
there's other photos been doing the rounds of those kids when they were younger as well, and it's scary to think, only say 5 years ago they were.
I was going to say taken last week, honestly.
Yeah. They were 10 or whatever, yeah.
I think there's one is it Josh Nichols, who I thought was really good. I thought he was, very assured.
Fullback? Was that the fullback?
He played right back. Yeah. Him with Arteta, when Arteta was a player at the club. And I think it was Charles Watts commented on it, and he just said, Arteta never ages. He's just the same. This Josh Nichols is just barely above his knee,
Yeah.
It's but he played really well. Miles Lewis-Skelly, I was really disappointed for him that he went off injured, and it didn't look. It looked like a bit of a dodgy injury because he should have gone off when he felt it first, and it looks like it'd be one of those injuries that was exacerbated by him wanting to stay on the pitch longer. But I thought he was excellent at left back. And have we got another player in our squad who started at left back? Starboy, didn't he start at left back?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and so I wonder,
he also started last night.
Yes, well, we'll get on to that. Yes, and obviously the headlines were guaranteed for Nwaneri when he scored a brace and just dominated the ball really well. I thought it was a very assured performance from a 17-year-old who clearly belongs in that company.
Proper player.
Yeah. What was I reading today about a scout who discovered or worked with a coach that worked with Foden and Grealish, and when Arteta came to Arsenal first 4.5 years ago, whatever it is, this coach said, "You've got to see this 12-year-old we've got, and he's really good." So Arteta said, "Well, give me a dossier on him. Show me some clips and so on." And he did, and then he sat down with the coach, and the coach said, "I've worked with X, Y, and Z, but this kid is the best kid I've ever seen at this age." And that kid is Ethan Nwaneri. So, and here he is, 5 years later, scoring 2 goals on his full debut.
Not bad.
When we get to the team news for Leicester, we'll see who's got him in the starting 11. No. Okay.
No. Right,
I have, just as a spoiler, I have.
Okay.
If not home to Leicester, then who? Anyway.
No, he's just played a full 90 though, hasn't he? And he was blowing out his arse
if you want to be a top footballer, you have to play 70.
I know, but he's
look at Saka.
That was his first 90 minutes of senior football, so I don't think he'll start.
Steph, what was that tweet you read out or you sent us about Saka, saying that if Arteta was moving house, he'd get Saka in to help him?
Yeah, that was Paddy Arsenal on Twitter, sort of joking that, yeah, exactly. If Arteta was moving house, he'd have Saka lifting furniture. because he just seems to work him constantly.
I was
That's
surprised.
what it feels like to us.
Yeah, I was surprised. Who could have started instead of him?
Yeah, that is harder to pin down unless you go with a particular shape change or something along those lines.
Trossard didn't start, did he?
He couldn't. He's banned.
No,
Is he? I thought that it didn't count for League Cup games.
League Cup.
Domestic.
So he's back for Leicester.
So he's available for
Leicester.
Didn't
Are
know
you
that.
changing your team now?
No,
Frantically.
because I don't like what he did, so I'm punishing him for one game.
Still so good. Still on the naughty step.
Other notable events yesterday: Sterling got his first goal and assist for the club. I thought he played really well. I think he definitely offers something that none of the other players we've got offer. How did you think his performance was?
Yeah, I thought he, was looking, pretty good, pretty sharp, pretty direct. When he came on against, I can't remember if it was City or Spurs. Did he come on at one of them?
He came on against Spurs.
He came on at one of them, and there was a moment. Yes, it was Spurs, because there was a moment where he's jinked inside from the wing, and there was a moment when maybe he could have shot, but really he could have released the ball and passed it.
He
to
ran
someone
into
else.
trouble, didn't he?
Held on to it just that little bit too long. Whereas I thought last night some of his decision making just looked that little bit more clearer, and that was a mix of either taking the shot on himself or, more notably, releasing the ball. So, and it's gonna be a little bit of time to build up those relationships.
I think this game came at a really good time for him and loads of other players, as we know, the younger players as well. But this was a really good game for him. Home game, start, bed in nicely, score a goal. I mean, it was set up for him, wasn't it? It's been a really good sort of segue into
And what was really notable is that he got better as the game progressed. Like he played his way into the game itself, and so I thought I think he was dangerous every time he got the ball, like from half an hour onwards. I think I was really impressed with his performance. 16-year-old Jack Porter in goal.
Yeah.
Were you a little bit worried? I was a little bit worried.
Well, do you know what? I was just thinking, if I was Bolton, I'd be on him, like pumping long balls in there, looking for set pieces. It seemed to me like they didn't go for him as much as they could, and it got me thinking. Imagine if Ben White played for Bolton, what he would have done to him, But he'd been whispering in his ear, He
wouldn't be allowed to. He's a minor. He's a kid. He was 16 in July. I don't think Ben White. I think he would consider that crossing a line. He's it was lovely the way the game ended, though. I thought that he came through a packed penalty area and the ball stuck. I thought that's good, because he had a bit of a dodgy moment when he went to pass the ball out and it went straight to the Bolton player. He got caught in no man's land for the goal as well a little bit. He misjudged the Bolton touch, I think, and he just got, he made it was easy then for the Bolton player just to go around him and slot it into an empty net.
Something that was said in commentary, that moment when we're playing out from the back and he's basically given the ball straight to the Bolton player. The commentator pointed out that immediately after that, when Arsenal had managed to recover and block it and sort of deal with it, that Calafiori went over to Porter and gave him a big thumbs up, and as if to say, no, you were making the right pass, you were doing the right thing, okay, execution and all that. There was, a real sort of sense of the team and those more senior players, looking after them really and sort of encouraging them, and that was really good to see. Yeah,
and so Nichols at right back, Nwaneri, Lewis Skelly at left back, and then the wonderfully named Maldini Kakuri came on, and more than one person's commented on how does an 18-year-old get so big? He's like huge. A tank. And centre-back called Maldini, and you're a centre-back. I mean, you're destined to... I think he was Albanian-born, but he's been in this country for quite a long time. I think that's my memory. I remember there was a feature done on him somewhere 2 or 3 years ago. It might have been what year was the documentary done on Arsenal? That was
Two seasons ago.
Yeah, I think he featured in that. There was a section or segment on the youth team, and he featured there. And so they interviewed him a few times. So only because of his name, he stuck in my mind. I thought, okay, we'll keep an eye on that. That's an easy name to remember. And here he is making his debut, and actually looking at home. You didn't notice it was a kid playing at centre back, which was nice. Preston away next round. Half term, Steph, you off?
Well, I might do, yeah. I think if we take the full allocation, chances are that, there will be a few tickets available. And
for zero credits.
I've passed it by the wife. That might be in the offing.
You're allowed.
I can't. Normally in that half term, a Champions League game falls, but because of this new stupid format, so instead of going to Lisbon or wherever, I'm going to have to go to Preston, aren't I? No offence, Preston. And last year I was going to Seville, so I'll have to make do, as they say up north.
Preston is a long way away.
But then the funny thing is, when I mentioned it to the wife this morning, I said, "So we got Preston in the next round, and it's away." And she went, and I said, "Can I go?" And she was like, "I was like, can I go?" She said, "Have you been there before?" And I went, "Yeah." She went, "I'd rather you didn't then."
So you've read that as you're allowed to go.
Well, I've sort of said, away credits and all those sort of things. Yeah, we went there. We had them in the FA Cup, and it was a long way, but it was also quite a good experience in terms of how the game finished, because we went 1-0 down, and then we came back to win 2-1. Giroud, I think, bundled one over with his arse in the injury time or something like that. So there were some good scenes having snatched the victory right at the end.
And I just want to, the last thing to say about the League Cup is the draw was quite favourable for Arsenal away to Preston. Rather, it was at home. A couple of other big teams are drawn against each other, but I don't care about that. But I do want to mention that Spurs have been drawn at home to City. Not that I don't care about that, but someone tweeted that information with the caption, "I wonder which team the Spurs fans will be supporting," which I thought was quite good. The confusion.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay. How are we feeling since the City game, Steph? There's been lots of publicity, just ridiculous stuff about the dark arts, and almost like we're an affront to football by defending one half of football, like people forgetting that we were 2-1 up at half time, having played football against Man City, and that we're down to 10 men, and we decided to hold on to what we had and defend very successfully, and so on. Lots of negative criticism about that. Other cheating, ignoring the fact, and I meant to say this, I'd written this down for the previous pod just post Man City game. Ederson got booked in the first half for time wasting at the Emirates 2 seasons ago. That's the first half, but it's okay. It's okay when they do it. They beat us 3-1, so that's fine. It worked. Or whatever they score, they beat us that day, but they did beat us that day. I'm like, okay, so Steph, have you been ignoring it, or
I haven't really had time to engage with it, if I'm honest, and that's just, my life at the minute. But that's why I'm convinced now that it essentially is all just clickbait. It's just all nonsense. It's essentially constructed to stir up the Arsenal fan base.
Can I just
we're
say,
so active.
The other thing that struck me that apparently several other clubs have written to the PGMOL about Arsenal's tactics. Is that true?
No, it can't be.
Is that pathetic? Or where's that come from?
It's come from, again, it's all just about stirring up the Arsenal fan base. We're the most active online. We have quite a number of representatives in the media, although not quite as many as Man United and Liverpool, but okay. And it just stirs up content and interest and conflict and tribalism, and it's all just an absolute nonsense.
I think it's been magnified by the fact that it was City players actually coming out and saying these things, not just pundits and other commentators. That's what they're feeding off, I think, is this, Bernardo Silva.
Yeah.
But how do you not interpret that as, how do people not look at that and go, but hang on, you're the serial winners? Like, you're really responding, like, as in City, and Bernardo Silva and Haaland and whoever, they're serial winners, and they're coming out and complaining about the way another team sets up to try and get a result. How does that not look a little bit embarrassing and pathetic?
Well, no, I think the reason they're saying it is because they are embarrassed. That's why those players are. They realise they've been schooled, and that's their defence. Gundogan did an interview which was perfect. It's like he said, "No, look, they did really well. We should have been better. We should have had enough to unpick the lock. They did, fair play. On we go." It was like, but you won't hear about that interview because it's
is the likes
exactly.
Of,
doesn't follow the narrative.
Yes, is the likes of Bernardo Silva then? Is that stuff then? In the same way, some managers will come out and they'll say something absolutely ridiculous because what they're really doing is covering for their players and deflecting. Mourinho was the absolute master of doing that. Exactly. So is this just essentially we'll hold a mirror up to them because we don't want people scrutinising us because a few of our players are perhaps starting to go on that slight downward curve? Look, they're still at their peak, a lot of these players, don't get me wrong. But maybe they're tipping over ever so slightly. De Bruyne's recurring injuries, Kyle Walker maybe not being quite as effective as he was. And I'm talking about, minor things. But when you've set a standard that's so high, as City have over in recent years, that little bit of drop-off.
Fine margins,
is a fine margin, exactly right.
Yeah.
Chris?
Yeah, no, I think we're damned if we do and damned if we don't, because last season we were naive when we went for it in certain games and got walloped, or season before generally. Yeah. And now we're being, we're this sort of hung out to dry as the antichrist of football, Stoke and all this business. It's just ridiculous. But as we said, it's a narrative that they'll just keep peddling, a lazy narrative. And then we'll probably have to beat someone 5-0 before they'll change the narrative.
Well, we only had 3 consecutive 6-0 away wins last season. So, let's
but against
not that long ago.
Lesser opposition.
Quickly forgotten.
You can spin it whatever way you want.
Exactly.
As Clive said, he's not remotely concerned about how we set out and played against Man City in that second half. He's far more concerned about how we're going to cope with low block teams who visit the Emirates.
Yes.
So I think that's fair enough. Just connected to the dark arts, to celebrate the dark arts, whatever the hell they are. I've got a quiz.
Ooh, a dark arts quiz.
A dark arts quiz.
I feel like Harry Potter.
Can you name the 5 Arsenal players to have received the most red cards in the Premier League era? Now, they are, in descending order, the numbers 8, 6, 5, 4, 4. You want to think about that and we'll come back to it at the end, or do you want to go for it now?
Let's come back to it at the end, maybe.
Okay. So the 5 worst offenders as such.
Okay.
I didn't get all of them. Let's look forward then. Saturday, 3 p.m. kickoff, Leicester City and Jamie Vardy bring the party to the Emirates. How we feel, Chris? How are you feeling about that game?
Yeah, interesting, because like we just alluded to, the test is going to be how we deal with a team that is essentially going to defend. It's our first home game since we lost Ødegaard. The onus is on us. Take the game to the opposition, to set up in a more offensive manner. Is this the first time we're going to see a true 4-3-3, in our kind of usual formation? How do we set up? So those are the things that are going through my head in terms of us being clear favourites to win. And this is I wouldn't say as a bigger test than City, but it's a huge test in a very different way. And it's just been interesting to see how we cope with it.
Yeah, well, we're not going to All right, I mean, it's difficult to say that, but we're not going to win or lose the league based on what happened at the Etihad. We are based on how we do against the other teams.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because people say, "Oh, if you'd got the win against City instead of the draw, you'd have won the league." But that's a nonsense, because you could just say that about every single game. But it's dropping the 2 points at home to Fulham, for example. That was a bigger cost, because that's the game you should be winning. Steph, how are you feeling about Saturday afternoon?
Well, almost exactly the same. And you mentioned the name of the player that I'm least looking forward to encountering after all his... because he is such a git. Look, I cannot help but respect what he's achieved and what he's done, which certainly in trophy terms is a lot more than Harry Kane. And to do it all...
his background as well, his path,
exactly, his background,
route,
the way he's come
play,
up and all these sorts of things. But, you know, as an opposition fan, he's a git. He's a nuisance. And he's still bloody doing it at 37.
He's still scoring, isn't he?
Exactly. And well, the thing I was going to mention, because I wasn't sure if I was going to make it tonight, is the fact that I've still not gotten over a time when they beat us at the Emirates, and the way they got their goal was he does this thing of getting very touch tight to a defender, and then he moves his leg in such a way that he's really kicking the defender, and then he does that straight leg fall over the defender thing and wins a penalty. And I've got that seared in my brain when he did that to Monreal, and I just worry about some kind of nonsense that he pulls to get one over us. Look, I haven't seen nearly anything of Leicester so far this season, through mere fact of mainly just obviously focusing on Arsenal games and only seeing a few games here and there. But ultimately, you know, they will do well to counter. They've got a few draws. You know, they look okay. They're certainly not going to be there for teams to just roll over and beat week in, week out. So, the ultimate thing, though, is just that it's a different test. And Arsenal have got to overcome different expectations for these sorts of games and ultimately try to find different ways of... I mean, you used a term in the week about unpicking a lock is going to be the key thing for here. Whereas before, against City, it was about... you know, that sort of digging deep, siege mentality. This will be about, you know, the intricacies, trying to crack open a safe is more likely to be the issue.
Yeah, we shouldn't really be worried about a Jamie Vardy penalty incident for winning the game. You know, we should go for this. We should start fast and put the game to bed by half time. That's what we should do. Now, the best laid plans of mice and men, etc., might not play out like that. Chris, what's your starting 11?
Well, I'm going to put Neto in goal because I don't think Raya's going to make it. So that's unfortunate, but I think if we lose it because of the keeper, then we've got bigger problems than we think. Yeah. So I think Neto will be fine. Back four, I would like to see Calafiori start, so I'm going to put him in at left back with the usual two, Saliba and Gabriel, and then I think White's going to be rested, so it'll be Timber at right back. Now, the midfield, this is what worries me, is because we need to be more offensive, and I think it will be a three in midfield, and I think, Steph, you might have suggested this, but Rice, Partey and Trossard as a three, because we don't want to be dropping Havertz too deep. I think he's going to be the focal point again, and I think Sterling will be on the bench and it will be Havertz up top with Saka and Martinelli. Okay, sorry, Steph.
So I've gone for exactly the same team, but I'm just crossing fingers and trying to be more optimistic about David Raya. I know that he's obviously a doubt, but yeah, so Raya in goal, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Calafiori. That way we don't have to take a huge amount of risk with White. You know, I don't think they wanted to bring him on at all against City, but it was kind of needs must. And the midfield, the reason I've gone for Trossard, Partey, Rice is because it's trying to ape that way that Odegaard fits into that system. Rice can be a bit further forward, and Partey is slowly improving. I feel like I worry a bit, like I said about the City players, that maybe we may have seen the best of Partey, but he was you're pretty good against City, and it's against City away from home and all those sorts of things. So I don't really see the need to change too much there. I have gone Saka and Havertz. That's fairly straightforward. And yeah, while there is a situation where I could see Sterling come into the side, because he did look all right against Bolton, he's played the majority of that game, and Martinelli, that dynamic that we've said about Martinelli coming on and, basically emptying the tank over, say, 60, 70 minutes for then Sterling to come on is a nice sort of, dynamic to have. So I've gone with Martinelli to start.
That can work in reverse as well. Saka, Sterling could do that for Martinelli.
We were having this conversation about Trossard in the same role, weren't we? About who should start and who could come on and improve.
So I don't agree with your team selection. So they're clearly wrong. I don't think Trossard's done enough to warrant a starting place there behind Havertz. He had a half against City. He was pretty quiet. Martinelli was more effective out wide. I'm not sure what Trossard did in the middle, apart from tug a Man City player and then boot the ball away. I've not got an issue.
He had a good game against Spurs.
You're just punishing him, aren't you?
I don't think he created anything. I don't think he. It's like you said, Steph. You just said then that in the Odegaard role.
Yeah.
That's chalk and cheese for me. Trossard, I think, has got the potential to play that role, but I haven't seen it yet. So I've gone for Nwaneri to start there. I just think that's he's the most like for like player we've got for that role, and he played really well against Bolton. But Leicester is a different beast to Bolton, but they're not Man City and they're not Liverpool. They're not Spurs, Chelsea, Man United. They're a couple of levels below that. So my question is, if not home to Leicester, then who? Where does that player Nwaneri get his minutes, get his experience, build rhythm, momentum? I mean, the guy barely smiles, but he must be feeling fantastic after his performance against Bolton. So he's on a high. He plays without fear. Arteta says that. And I just think that to give him his stripes in that position on Saturday would be really.
To be fair though, he's emptied the tank last night. He played the full 90, and do you really think he's going to start?
Obviously, I do.
Can I just pick up on something?
Of course.
Nwaneri not smile?
No, he's quite sullen. He's quite
pretty,
sullen.
That.
It's just a grumpy teenager. I've got one living here.
There you go.
This is true.
We teach them.
Yes.
There you go.
So my team, I've gone for the same as you, Chris. I don't think that Raya will start. I think Neto will start, and there's a back four of Timber, Saliba, Gabriel and Calafiori. I've gone for a midfield three then of Partey, Rice and Nwaneri further forward. And I've gone for Saka and Havertz, obviously, in their respective positions. And I've gone for Sterling on the left. Again, Arteta said today that Sterling really played well against Bolton, but his fitness levels, he's not up to speed yet. So this is where that happens. I want him up to speed because he could be our most dangerous attacker. Like he could be. I was thinking at the City game, when City were dominating us in the first 15, 20 minutes and they'd got their goal through Haaland, who, was kind of rampaging around the pitch, but he wasn't doing much with the football, but he got that goal. And that when he's on the pitch, you've always got the chance of him getting that goal, much like we had with Ian Wright and Thierry Henry and so on. Who have we got now in the team where you would think, it's a definite goal there? You might say Saka. He's got one goal. He's got one goal this season.
But
Nwaneri, fine. But who's going to get the goal?
Nwaneri's next, isn't it?
Nwaneri's our second top goal scorer this season. Joint second highest goal scorer this season. Yeah, but I'm just making a point about who's going to get that goal. So that I was worried. One of the things that worried me against Man City was, where's this goal coming from? Like, what player? Who's our go-to player? No, nobody would have put forward Calafiori as that player, but it's
Gabriel from corners.
Yeah. But okay, if you're relying on a set piece, fine. You're not necessarily always going to get a set piece away at the Etihad, so and I think Sterling could be that danger player. He looked like really good, and his decision making. He kind of had 2 assists almost, because he had a shot that was blocked and the rebound was put in by someone I can't remember last night. So he was involved in a lot of the positives in an attacking sense. So I think Sterling. I think so. My point, really laboured as it is that the more minutes Sterling gets, the quicker he gets his minutes, the quicker he gets up to speed, the quicker he gets his fitness, he can then be utilised in the big games when they come along, and not as a substitute. And then you've got Martinelli off the bench to terrorise already exhausted defenders in the last 20 minutes, like he did it at home to Man City last season. So that's my setup. Steph, you're obviously going for a big home win.
Well, you catch me in an optimistic mood, and I'm going to go 1-0 to the Arsenal.
I'm just not going to say anything. Chris?
Well, no, I do think we're going to score more than one. I'm going to go 3-0.
Okay, so I did have 3-0 written down, but then I just couldn't because of Steph's infiltrated my confidence with the Vardy talk, so I've gone for 3-1.
Yeah, and I think that the confident bit of my prediction is the 0. Because I don't know, it's just Vardy, isn't it? But then that was Vardy.
But he doesn't impact our scoring.
No, but certain attacking
who are you?
players.
Let me ask you something then, Steph. Who do you think we're more likely to get a goal or a goal assist from, Martinelli or Sterling?
On current form, yeah, maybe Sterling. Maybe.
Right, so why not start him?
Because, look, I'm trying to predict the lineup. It's not the team I would necessarily go with. And I think Arteta is in this rhythm now of Martinelli's the starter, and then someone else is the finisher. You know, this new term of substitutes as finishers, that he sort of goes that way. He likes the fact that Martinelli will take defenders on, will tire them out, will gain us territory by doing that, and also has good recovery speed in defence.
I'm not hearing much that Sterling hasn't got. And Sterling has also got end product. I know Martinelli got an assist against Man City. That was his, he hasn't scored in 17 games, Martinelli. How much longer can we carry? Like, he's been brilliant defensively, but home to Leicester isn't going to be a game that requires a mammoth defensive, unless we get our usual sending off early on, possibly, then it might become that. But
don't.
No.
Well, in fact, I'd just like to go through a game without a suspension or an injury. Would be nice.
Yeah.
That'd be a start. Look, Sterling's new to the club, new to the team. I know he knows Arteta and a few of the players already. And ultimately, he played the full game against Bolton, and he's not. I think, apart from Rice and Saka, who he brought off early, we're not going to see any of that starting lineup start on Saturday.
Which I think is wrong, because he needs the squad, and he needs the squad firing. Pep would start Sterling. He'd rotate them out. He'd rotate them, so they're all at max fitness-wise and form-wise, but they're not playing every game, not every minute of every game.
Pep's not doing that, though, at the minute, which shows they've slimmed down their squad. Just so, I mean, Doku played midweek against...
But he's only got one striker.
Well, he's only got one striker. But what a striker. They sold Alvarez, what a player, because ultimately Alvarez is like, I want to play. Doku started midweek. They had Watford at home, having, played in the game against us at the weekend as well. And so he's not rotating nearly as much.
Well, Grealish and Foden started in midweek and they didn't start against us, so you brought them in.
Yeah. I mean, isn't it nice to have £100 million players that you can rotate in and out of the team?
Yeah, but we've got a £100 million player who actually plays well.
And he starts every game, even games against League One Bolton in the League Cup. So, there we go.
Okay, have we done the scores? We have, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, 1-0, 3-0, 3-1.
I'm recording them.
Quiz time. Quiz answer time. Name the 5 players who have...
I've got 2 obvious ones that I'm going to say. And one is Vieira.
He's the 8, funnily enough. He's number 1.
And Granit Xhaka.
Is one of the 2 4s.
Okay. Can I say Fabregas?
You can. It's wrong.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go for some of the, shithouses then.
So I got 2 of the remaining 3. I didn't get the 4th.
Flamini?
3rd. Nope.
Keown?
Adams.
Right, you've just named... Well done. Adams and Keown are both there. Keown's on 6. He's second on 6 red cards, and Adams is one of the other on 4. So the player you're missing...
How many red cards?
Yeah, has received 5 Premier League red cards.
Oh, it's not Lehmann then.
No.
Oh, who are we talking? Abue.
No.
Well, I don't know. Someone who's rubbish and mistimes his tackles.
No, this player played a lot.
Silver.
What position? Give us a clue.
Well, hang on. This player was a regular in the team.
Okay.
And we were really quite... Okay, this will give it away. We were sorry to see him go, but a bit disappointed about how he did it, how he engineered
it's Van
it.
Persie then.
No.
Oh.
Nasri?
No.
Adebayor.
No.
Ashley Cole.
No. He had 1 red card in the Premier League era.
Bloody hell. We're sad to see him go, but a bit...
I'm hoping people are shouting at the whatever they're shouting
Wilshere?
at. No. He's a defensive player. He returned home to France.
To France? What? Oh, for God.
Hang on. Koscielny.
Yes.
Oh, of course. Koscielny.
5 red cards.
Yeah.
I don't remember any of them, but...
Literally, his name wouldn't have come to me. I don't know why. Koscielny's like his...
Because he did make a bit of a... There was a bit of an issue with the way he left the club, like he almost...
Well, he did that. He did the reveal video for the club he went to, who... I can't even remember which club it was now. He did a thing where he was wearing an Arsenal shirt, pulled it off, and then he had the French shirt underneath, and everyone was like, come on, mate. I didn't really give a shit about it, but, it was one of those.
I didn't want him to go at the time because he was a good centre-back.
No.
Did he leave under Emery?
That I can't remember.
Yeah, he might have timed it. Yeah, he might have timed it with Wenger leaving.
There was I seem to remember there being a bit of a thing about him not favouring the regime, with Sanyehi and all that lot, and maybe he didn't get a contract that he wanted. I don't know. It just all stunk
Usually
a bit.
Is that, innit? Yeah.
Well, there you go. I couldn't find a quiz for Arsenal and Leicester, so I came up with this one in connection with the Dark Arts week.
I was at the only thing about the real connection with Leicester is I was at an end of season fans forum thing where Lee Dixon was there as like the ex-player kind of doing a sort of Q&A session, and they also had an interview led by, I think, was it Ian Watt was associated with the club, used to play Lofty in EastEnders. He was doing an interview with Ivan Gazidis, and during the meeting it broke online that Arsenal had submitted an offer to try and buy Vardy from Leicester, and the murmurations in the room were absolutely palpable. It was it seemed like quite an exciting thing at the time.
He turned us down.
He did turn us down. And achieved legendary status as a Leicester player, and still is.
Yeah, and
but
fair play.
That's what
we didn't offer him enough Red Bull. Clearly,
Van Persie should have done the same and not gone to that lot up north. Anyway, so Chris, are you going on Saturday?
Do you know I'm not? No. No, I can't.
When shall we three meet again?
Southampton, I guess.
Yes.
Hey.
Steph, I'll see you there on Saturday.
All right, mate.
And it'll be a nice, comfortable win, regardless what Steph says. Don't listen to him.
Well, I hope so. I'll be the one
Old
all
Eeyore.
positive and singing along, and you'll be the one going biting your nails. We haven't scored. 20 minutes gone.
In.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't like how this has started.
We know how it goes.
Right, anyway, thanks for the chat. Thanks for listening. Catch you on the other side when we look back on a comfortable home win against Leicester. Cheerio.
Please.
See ya.
The North Bank, an Arsenal podcast. Subscribe, rate and review on your app, and find us on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok at NorthBankPod. Email hello@thenorthbankafc.com and check out our website, thenorthbankafc.com. Produced by The Podcast Company.
Arsenal with an extra man need this. Ozil clips it in. Welbeck!